Hello and welcome back to the GB Fantasy Football channel. In today's video, we're going to be having a little recap of those Game Week 2 Premier League fixtures so far. Of course, we've still got the second round of the Carabao Cup to go in midweek on Tuesday and Wednesday. And of course, looking at the best transfer targets ahead of that Game Week 3 deadline. Now, thank you very much for all the subscribers and all the comments on the most recent videos. It's been very much appreciated. If we could do that again, hit that subscribe button for future content, hit the like button if you do enjoy today's video, and smash that bell icon so you don't miss an upload. Now, without further ado, let's crack on with the video. Once again, the Sun Dream Team League code is just below my video section, just about here. Go join it. There's about 350 of you in there already. Not had a great start myself. I think I'm about 250th out of all of us that are in there, but there's still plenty of the season to go. First game of the weekend, West Ham Chelsea, Friday night. Didn't go as planned for me personally. 5-1 Chelsea, a certain Cole Palmer, a no-show. He was on the team sheet, unfortunately got injured in the warm-up and has subsequently caused a lot of people, myself included, to use their first substitution booster of the season. Now, I brought in, I believe it was Amad Diallo of Man United. It was a toss-up between Diallo, of course, a certain Bournemouth player that we'll get to in the not too distant future, and Mbeumo or Cunha from Man United. They all scored the same. I think I went off the basis that Diallo, Ahmad, I should call him more Ahmad, would play in the Grimsby game in perhaps a more advanced position. All of you Man United fans out there, please do tell me in the comments down below if that is the case or I've got that slightly wrong, if he might even not play at all. But West Ham Chelsea, as I said, 5-1. Lots of point scorers in this. Chalobah getting a goal for those of you who brought him in at 3.5 million. I think Scott from the Dream Team Tonic podcast, I think he brought him in this week, so congratulations to him. Big 10-pointer for Chalobah. Probably in line for another 0.3 rise this week as well. Other notable players, Cucurella once again picking up an attacking assist, even without the clean sheets. Got the clean sheet in the first week at home to Palace, assist this game week. I think he is definitely a player to keep a keen eye on. If budget reasons can get and allow me to get him in, I think he might be one that enters my team. But with a certain Ballardinho, maybe picking up an injury, we'll get to him in a little while. Might be tricky budget wise. João Pedro coming out of this one, goal and 2 assists, 17-pointer. Those of you who went for him in game week 1 would have been hoping for those big returns. And with him playing in that number 10 role without Cole Palmer being on the pitch, it did look like he was more active in the build-up, which is exactly what you want from your assets. Pedro Neto with the goal. Enzo Fernandez rolling back his form from the back end of last season on this game. A goal and an assist, a 13-pointer. For those of you who went for Chelsea assets this week, I think you're very much, well, it's a good selection. As for West Ham, not so much. Lucas Paquetá, just the best player that they have currently on form. Jared Bowen not really doing too much. Paquetá with the 12-pointer, long distance goal. Chelsea keeper should have done better. Didn't really get a hand on it. But I think when you look at Chelsea and Man United, they should be going all out for Donnarumma at PSG. I think it's about 30 million is all that they want. I know his wages will be extortionate, but I think that kind of signing would transform a Chelsea or a Man United currently with their goalkeeper issues. Jared Bowen, 4-pointer, so close to that 3 bonus points with the 8 ppm. Unfortunately, didn't quite get it. He was my captain this week. I'm hoping that he plays. I think they play Wolves in the week. I hope he plays that fixture. I think a lot of the comments after the game with regards to going strong in that, from the specifically Jared Bowen's interview himself, I'm hoping he puts himself forward and he plays in that fixture. I think it will go strong. Juve, once again, another player in my team. Picked up an assist in the first 6 minutes. It's one of those lucky assists, just a 3-yard pass sideways. I thought, I'm in for the points. My selection was between taking him out and a certain defender that I'll get to in a little while. I took the other one out and I left myself with Juve once again. A big mistake. Just a 1-pointer. Of course, they conceded 5, so that pretty much negated all of the points that he picked up for me. Defensive wise, minus points across the board for West Ham players. Ward-Prowse, a 7-pointer. I think he was a great budget option in the first week. Didn't pick up too many points, but with those set pieces, 10 on the ppm, picking up 3 bonus points overall. Decent option. But in this one, Chelsea players pulled through and scored the big ones. All the data, of course, today is from not only FPL. It's a fantastic website. Do go check it out. It shows you all of the updated in live, in gameplay, updated points for each player, their bonus points, tackles, etc. It's a fantastic website, so do go check it out. Link is always in the description. Now, the dinner time game for us in the UK was Man City against Tottenham. It didn't quite play out as many of us would have expected. Personally, I could see it in the first few weeks that Tottenham's defence is a step or two above what it was last season under Postecoglou. Of course, they fell just short against PSG in the Super Cup, but you could see the signs were there. In the first game week at home to Burnley, there were a few teething issues. I think Burnley should have scored in that game. In this one, Man City didn't really have a sniff. Haaland had half a chance. I think Marmoush should have scored when Haaland played him through. But on the whole, Tottenham did a job on City here. Now, they normally do most seasons, to be fair. I think they won 4-0 in the same fixture in the last campaign. But this was a real statement performance from Tottenham. On the back of losing out to Eze in the week, they could have been down. Clearly, they got the fire in the belly, and it's another positive result for them. Defensively wise, currently Van der Ven, bit of egg on my face with regards to that one. He has picked up 14 points, I believe, in the first two fixtures with only a 3.5 or 3.5 million player at the start of the campaign. I do stand by my point. If you don't get the clean sheets with currently the Tottenham defenders, you're not looking like getting any extra points, which is surprising for a player like Porro. In this fixture, I fully expected Tottenham to go with the back five, same as they did against PSG in the Super Cup, but they surprised us. They went with the back four, they stuck to their guns, and they beat Man City quite comfortably in the end. But Porro only won on the bonus points, or PPM, no bonus points overall, picked up a yellow card, only 6 points, 9 for Vicario, 8 for Romero, and 8 for Spence. With Spence specifically, I think Udogi was back. Well, if he wasn't back on the bench, he's certainly close to returning from injury. Will he rotate with Spence? I think so. In midfield, Palhinha picked up the goal from the mistake. I think it was, who was it? It was Gonzalez on the ball. Trafford playing him short, pounced on it. Decent goal. I think he might be one to target for other games. Not so much this one. I do feel like he will be rotated in and out, fixture dependent. Richarlison picking up an assist once again. He did start this game, brought off in the 78th minute for Solanke. I wouldn't go there personally. From what I've read and just from eyesight, Richarlison's always coming off early, and I think once both strikers are up to fitness, they will rotate minutes between them. So despite his fire start to the season, I stay clear of Richarlison. Brennan Johnson taking a goal, doing what he does. If he doesn't score, he blanks pretty much most weeks, but that's what he does. And unfortunately for me, Mohamed Kudus, only a 3-pointer this week, got brought off in the 86th minute. He was slowly climbing in that bonus point ranking, nearly reaching that 5 mark, but he got brought off. And he's probably in line for a price decrease as well. On the Man City side of things, Aït-Nouri, the big disappointment for many of you who would have had him this week. Did well the game week one. I think he picked up 9 points or so, maybe even 11 points. It was certainly a big haul for him. Only a 1-pointer in this game. He's gone off injured, and if the news is to be believed, he's out for between 3 and 4 weeks. So he is a sell. Not many points across the back line for Man City, as you'd expect, losing 2-0. Not many points in general. Oscar Bob with a 6-pointer. Ryan Cherky, forgot his first name. Cherky with a 4-pointer. Marmoush with a 3-pointer, brought off in the 54th minute. Not reliable enough at the minute, unfortunately, for Marmoush. It seems like he has not really lost the faith of Pep Guardiola, but he's not really the flavour of the week, and you really have to be in this Man City team. And Erling Haaland with the 3-pointer, he picked up a big chance created, and that was it, unfortunately, for him. After the 2 goals against Wolves on the opening game week, really underwhelming, and probably in line for a 0.3 decrease as well this week. So it's probably going to stay with the Champions League fixtures looming, but these premium assets aren't firing on a consistent basis at the minute, and it might be time to look elsewhere if your squads are currently set. But Tottenham picking up the big win. The big fixture that many of you would have had your eyes on, especially after the Cole Palmer no-show on Friday night, was Bournemouth against Wolves. Now, I got a lot of messages with regards to who to transfer in for Palmer, how to transfer players in for Palmer. and many of you went for a certain Semenyo of Bournemouth. I think many of you would have captained him as well, judging from the polls and judging from the overall responses across the board. Now, Bournemouth picking up a clean sheet. 7 points for Petrovic, Smith, and Senese. 8 points for Truffert. Truffert is one to watch out for. He played really well against Liverpool on the opening fixture. Of course, they conceded four, so his points were heavily influenced by that. But he was getting forward. Is he quite the Kirkes of last season? Probably not yet, but give him time and he has potential. Tavernier. Now, someone did message me on X prior to kick-off and saying, but they said that they was going to go for Tavernier. And my gut instinct to reading that was, it's a fantastic option. It really was. And he came up trumps, scoring within 4 minutes, an 11-pointer. I think many of you would have been turned off by his, I think he was 2.7 price range now. And when you transfer in someone, the want is to go for someone expensive. And it's not necessarily the case that they are going to be the best point scorers. Now, Tavernier is looking like the best budget option if you started with him at the start of the season. 11-pointer, 1 bonus point. He's just looking solid. Yes, he did get brought off in this game, but I think he's got a high chance of playing in the week as well, so it's one to watch out for. Adams with a 4-pointer. Evan Nielsen with only a 3-pointer. I know a few brought him in despite his price decrease from game week 1 into game week 2 in hopes of this double. And of course, Semenyo with his 6-pointer. It's a solid start, but we've always been down to 10 men for, I think it was about 45 minutes or so in this game. Only coming away with 6 points for those of us who don't have Semenyo was a massive relief. He picked up the assist within 4 minutes. He had a big chance created that I think was taken away. It might have been added back over time, but it certainly did get taken away, surprisingly. If he doesn't play in the week, would you be happy with only 6 points if you substituted him in this week for Cole Palmer? Leave a comment down below. Personally, I don't think I would be too happy with just 6 points, but with still a fixture to go, there's still plenty of potential. On the Wolves side of things, not much to shout home about. Agbadu with a 4-pointer, one in the bonus point column, but then you've got twos, ones, and threes across the board pretty much, including Strand Larson with just a 3-pointer. He's been heavily linked with Newcastle. I think they've had a bid rejected of around 50 million. So it is one to watch out for, especially if Isak gets sold and they don't get a second centre forward in. So Strand Larson could potentially be their starting centre forward. But if the rumours are led to be believed, they're trying to sign Strand Larson as a Callum Wilson replacement as opposed to a starting number 9 for their club, which I think is a bit unfair on Strand Larson. Yes, he isn't quite there with regards to his overall ability. He's a bit rough at times, but to only be buying him as a backup centre forward, I think he might be a little bit better than that. But on the Wolves side of things, I wouldn't really be going there. As for Bournemouth, you've got those key assets. You've got Tavernier, you've got Semenyo, and maybe Truffert at best. Brentford 1, Aston Villa 0, in possibly the biggest disappointment for me over the weekend, besides a certain player who we'll get to in the next slide more than likely. Dango Atara starting his Brentford career off exceptionally well, scoring the winner and picking up 12 points in the process. He's definitely one to watch out for when the single game weeks come around, if Brentford's fixtures are, of course, on the healthy side of things. But Villa, once again, flattering to deceive. They've yet to score a goal this season. Of course, they blanked on the opening day at home to Newcastle, and a blank again once just away to Brentford, surprisingly. Watkins with just a 2-pointer. Tielemans with just a 2-pointer. John McGinn with a 4, Onana with a 4, and then we've got 3s, 1s, and 2s across the back line and the midfielders. Morgan Rogers only 3 points once again. I do feel like things will click into place for Villa, but how long it takes and how many incomings to get over the next week or so is still yet to be seen. Brentford, on the other hand, fantastic result for them. Of course, it was a really disappointing one on the opening weekend, but to bounce back with a 1-0 win in a very tricky game, it's solid. And they do have the double, of course, in the week. Kelleher and Nathan Collins with 2 points. Lewis Potter with just the Kelleher and Collins with the 7 points. Lewis Potter with the 2, and Coyote with the 9 points. One of the biggest disappointments for me this week. I had to choose between Juve and Coyote to take out. I thought Juve would possibly play the double, and of course, with Tuesday and Wednesday's fixtures still to come, that could be the case. But Coyote coming on with a 9-pointer after his first week where he looked so poor, to pick up 2 points for tackles, to pick up 9 points overall and a clean sheet. Just a wounding decision, it really is. And the player that I brought in, we'll get to in the next one, only scoring 2 points and getting taken off injured. I'm sure many of you know who I'm talking about here. I kept one transfer back, so I do have three going into game week 3. But to make one transfer and already be down at least 7 points is very disappointing. Vandenberg with the 7 pointer, of course, Dango Atara with the 12. Damsgaard coming in for his first fixture of the season, 7 pointer, picked up 3 bonus points, so a really solid option. Thiago, 4 points. I think he was only 2.5 million at the start of the season, so he started off with a goal and a couple of points to keep himself ticking along. One to note for the future. But Brentford, surprising result. Will you go there after this double game week? I think a lot will rely and depend on if they do win that Carabao Cup second round fixture. But if they do, and they play a strong team, their assets could be one to note for, I think it's game week 4, the second round of the Carabao Cup. But do leave a comment down below if that is incorrect. I know it's game week 4 or game week 5. Burnley 2, Sunderland 0. Cullen and Anthony with the goals in this one. A surprising 2-0 win. I thought with Sunderland's form, of course, they won 3-0 on the opening day at home to West Ham. I did think they'd get a goal in this one, but it turns out Burnley have brought their defensive capabilities from the Championship and laid it out for the Premier League to see. Although I do think with tougher games to come, the Burnley defence can't quite be relied on as much as it was in the Championship. So much more quality in the Premier League. But they've got a clean sheet here, and that's all you can ask for. Is there a better place to start than a certain Dan Ballardino? Extremely disappointed. Taken off injured after just 9 minutes with a potential double in mind. I brought him in for Coyote. He scored his 9 points. Ballard, 2 points, off after 9 minutes. Probably very little chance of him playing at home to Huddersfield in the week either. Majorly disappointing, wounded in fact. He should have got the assist. It was a cracking knockdown to Mayenda. He miskicked it. This game could have been so different. It really could have. Would there have been a more settled back four with him on the pitch? Potentially. There is high potentials, of course, in that first fixture at home to West Ham. It was a bit of a wall at the back. So to see him go off injured and potentially take another transfer, to use a transfer to bring Ballard in and then to take him out, it's a tough one to swallow. Ronaldo, 4-pointer, not too bad, but Sunderland across the board. Of course, the hero of game week 1, Royce in goal, just the 1 point, no bonus points, no save points. Will he play in the week with Patterson on the bench? I'm not sure. It depends how strong the Sunderland manager wants to go in that fixture at home to Huddersfield. I hope he does. I hope all the assets that I've got who could potentially double this week double, but that's not the case all the time in the second round of the Carabao Cup. Very disappointing this week on that front. For Burnley, Anthony with a 13-pointer, a goal and an assist. Cullen with a goal and assist, a 14-pointer. Estev, 8 points. Ekdal and Hartman both with 9. Dubravka with 7. I know a few of you went with him instead of Royce in game week 1 for that budget option in goal. And Kyle Walker picking up the 7 points. A more popular name within the Burnley defence. He was 2.5 million at the start of the campaign. And he's bringing in points. Can he do that over the course of the next 2 to 3 weeks? Still yet to be seen. But this fixture, it really did disappoint me. Yeah, Ballardino. It was nice having you in the team. It lasted 9 minutes. So a game I tuned in for and I was very excited to see ahead of kick-off for a certain unveiling of Eberechi Eze. Now, if any of you have followed the channel from the start, way back in April, I have plenty of history with regards to Eze and Sun Dream Team. He was in my team in game week 1, 2, 3 and 4 at the start of the last campaign, and he was a massive hit because he played all the minutes in the Carabao Cup. He played in the league, and where many people didn't get minutes in the Carabao Cup, he scored massively. I captained him for the cup final, so he scored loads of points for me in that. He scored in the cup final. He came off the bench in the midweek fixture, scored in that as well. Eze was a massive point and a massive reason why I finished third in the world last season. So to snatch him away from Tottenham at the last minute and to see him walking down the tunnel, turning around in the manner that he did with the big smile on his face ahead of kickoff, made this fixture just electric even before a ball was kicked. And the scoreline showed that in the end. Arsenal 5, Leeds 0, Saka with a goal, Gyökeres with 2 goals, and Timber with 2 goals as well. Of course, Timber picked up the assist to go with his 2 goals, a massive 28-pointer. You'll very rarely see hauls of such magnitude throughout the season, let alone in game week 2. For those of you who had him, I'm not sure how many of you did, bearing in mind Ben White played in the first fixture and Timber wasn't even supposed to play this one. I think Mosquera was being touted to actually play right back because of the manner of the fixture, the potential to rest certain players if there was carrying niggles. So to see him play, to see him get the clean sheet, 2 goals and an assist, incredible. Calafiori at left back as well. I was adamant that Miles Lewis-Skelly would play in this game, especially with Liverpool next week. I decided against him against my better nature. I still don't have an Arsenal player in any of my fantasy teams, and this game, amongst many others, was always going to be the one where they scored big. They've got Liverpool away, they've got Newcastle, they've got Manchester City in the next 4 fixtures, I believe. So this was always the one that if you didn't have one, it was a hiding behind the chair kind of moment. And Calafiori did start. He picked up 2 assists, very fortuitous assists, I must say. A long ball into the channel where Gyökeres ran for about 20-30 yards and slotted in the bottom corner. And the other one bounced off his chest and Timber just got a toe to it and got it over the line. So they was fortunate, but they all count at the end of the day. Brought off just after that 60-minute mark as well. 13 points. He scored 13 points in game week 1 and game week 2. That one's very disappointing. Of course, you have to average it out, and with Liverpool away next week, I certainly wouldn't expect another Arsenal clean sheet. They're yet to concede this season. When I looked at the fixtures with Man United away and Liverpool away in the first 3 game weeks, I saw 1 clean sheet, and that was this game. If they somehow go to Anfield next week and keep a clean sheet, I don't know what to say, to be honest. I mean, I know they're incredible defensively, but that would be some next level defending. The Golden Glove might already be set up for David Raya at the end of the season, but of course they will start conceding in due course. Other notable players from Arsenal this week: Bukayo Saka got the goal, took it well. I think a few of you did captain him this week as well. Went off in the 53rd minute. It looked bad. It looked long term. Of course, last season he was out after, I think it was January, February time, away to Palace, and he didn't come back until late April. It was the 3-4 month layoff, and the worst was thought straight away. We've got the news. It seems he's going to be out for around 4 weeks, which does unfortunately make him a sell. You're probably looking at him at about game week 6 or 7 because I think he will be reintegrated back into this team quite slowly now. They won't take any chances with him. So if you do have him, I think it is a move on, despite the international break coming up in a few weeks' time. And Victor Gyökeres got his Arsenal career up and running. 2 goals. He scored the first one, took it well, beat a few people, slid it in the bottom corner. And he did indeed take the penalty that Max Dowman won. I genuinely think he would have taken this penalty regardless of if Saka was on the pitch or not. Arteta was asked in an interview just one word response. He was asked penalties. His instant response was Gyökeres. To me, that speaks volumes. Saka's given him away for years to players like Odegaard and Havertz when he was struggling at the start of his Arsenal career. And I think Gyökeres will be on him. If we get maybe 1 or 2 more in Saka's absence, I just can't see him ever taking him again. Gyökeres looked very composed taking that penalty. Max Dowman got the assist. It looked very lively coming off the bench. They do have to be exceptionally careful with him going forward. He's such a young lad. I think he's the 2nd youngest player in Premier League history to make an appearance behind Ethan Nwaneri. But what a talent. What a talent. Would I be picking him in your fantasy teams? No. In the next 2 to 3 years, he might be an undeniable option, but time will tell on that front. A player to watch from this Arsenal team, despite him more than likely having a 0.2 or 0.3 decrease, is Noni Madueke. Now, I think Noni Madueke will play a lot of minutes in Saka's absence. He looked lively on the left-hand side. I think he drove at Leeds right back plenty of times and caused a lot of danger. Now, I know he's only got 2 points in this game, but from the eye test and watching this fixture, he looked very lively. No goals, no assists. Of course, that's what you're after in these games. Declan Rice getting another assist from a corner. How long that will keep up for, I don't know, but it's been a common theme throughout the last year or two, so I won't put it past him to do such a thing. But Madueke, who will play on that right hand side in Saka's absence, and also Martin Odegaard coming off in this game after just 38 minutes with a shoulder injury, 1 pointer in line with a 0.3 decrease. I think away to Liverpool next week, they're more than likely going to go with a three behind Gyökeres of Madueke on the right, probably Martinelli on the left due to his defensive work rate. I'd love for it to be Eze, but maybe Eze plays in that number 10 position. If Eze doesn't play in that number 10 position, he has the capabilities to play on the left, but I think he's going to go with Martinelli for his work rate. If there's a few fixtures per season Martinelli turns up for, it's against Liverpool. But I can see Madueke playing, and it was notable that he got taken off in the 64th minute, not long after Saka's injury. And I think that was a protection process to save him for that Liverpool fixture and to save him for the fixtures going forward. And they're on the Arsenal front. On the Leeds side, Perry with a -2, Rodon with a -1. Goodmanson, who scored massively in the opening fixture at home to Everton, unfortunately a -2 for him. Another player, Stack, scored really well in the opening game at home to Everton. I think he got an assist in that one. Only 3 points in this fixture. Willie Nonto, 4 pointer, but not too much to shout home about. Pirro, 58-minute substitution, only a 1 pointer. I think is Nemecha came on for him. Attacking wise, Leeds haven't scored from open play yet this season. These are the fixtures that won't determine how their campaign goes, but it certainly wasn't a great look. Once Saka got that second goal, it looked like Leeds were just in there for damage limitation. But Arsenal wise, the fixtures aren't easy going forward, but once the doubles come around, I think there might be a few players to target. Crystal Palace 1, Nottingham Forest 1. Draw in this one. Ismail Assar with the goal and Callum Hudson-Odoi picking up the goal for Forest. No clean sheets yet for Forest this season, which is a big surprise. Did they look like scoring in this one? Did they look like conceding? I think Palace were very bleak going forward, but that was to be expected. There's a certain Eze-shaped hole in their attack, and their squad is looking exceptionally thin across the ground. I think they'll get 3 or 4 signings through the door next week at least. Steve Parish, the Crystal Palace owner, was interviewed after their Conference League playoff game, and you could see just the way that he was speaking, specifically about Mark Guéhi as well. I think he said about Mark Guéhi, if he doesn't sign a contract in the next week, he will be sold. And that is the stern nature that Palace are taking. Eze, of course, he's gone to Arsenal now. They don't quite have that creative spark currently. Devaney filled the gap as he did in the Conference League first leg against Fredrickson or something along those lines. I forget the name. Do comment and correct me down below in the comments. I apologise for that one. But they just look down on creativity across the board. Saw took his goal quite well. Munoz picking up the assist. When doesn't he? Despite him being priced at 5.5 million, so far this season he's picked up a clean sheet. He's picked up an assist. It's what he does. And with their Conference League campaign, I do think he will play the majority of the minutes. I was hoping in these first 2 or 3 games at the start of the campaign, he would maybe not have a fantastic form. That price dropped below 5 million and he would have been straight in my squad, especially after the performances that he had last year. He will play in the Conference League. To me, there's no doubt in my mind about that. He played pretty much every minute of every domestic cup last season, except for if he was banned or unavailable due to injury. With Klein pretty much being the only backup down that right hand side and not really being favoured, I think Munoz is definitely one to target. But for those of you who played Sun Dream Team last season, you probably already know that. Richards, Guéhi, Lacroix, 2 points, 2 points, and 3 points. Will Hughes just with a 3 pointer. Mateta, just the 3 points as well. Brought off in the 88th minute for Ousmane Edouard, a name that I didn't really expect to play too many minutes for Crystal Palace going forward. He's a blast from the past for sure. I think he was at Celtic many years ago. But if you look at the bench, they brought on Esse, not Eze. I did get that mistaken last year. Lerma and Edouard. Only 3 substitutions. You can see that the manager's sending out a statement saying he's not got a big enough squad going forward. it's just threadbare across the board. Tyreek Mitchell just with a 2-pointer. He shared minutes with Borna Sosa in the Conference League playoff. I think Borna Sosa actually started that one. So going into the Conference League, if they do manage to qualify for that, that's one to note. Nottingham Forest, no clean sheet, so Aina, Murillo, Milenkovic, and Sells with the 2-pointer. Nico Williams once again picking up 4 points, so steady on that front. Gibbs White just a 2 points, so probably in line for a 0.3 decrease. Ndoye getting the assist. It was a fantastic ball through to Hudson-Odoi. He picked up the goal last week, of course, and assisting this one, but getting the early substitution. Hudson-Odoi took his goal well, 9-pointer. Sangari and Anderson, one that would have been on many of our radars, only a 3-pointer. Chris Wood, just the 2 points. I think he will share minutes in the Europa League, so if you're planning on getting in for the doubles, it's one to look out for. And only 1 point is coming off the bench for new signings McAtee. Jesus, of course, this is his second game now, and Hutchinson. Not too much to shout home about in this fixture, but with potential double European campaigns between the two of them, they will be on our radars across the coming weeks. Fixture that I tuned into on Sunday, mid-afternoon time, Everton Brighton. It was Everton's first game at the Hill Dickinson Stadium, and they started it off with a fortuitous 2-0 win. Garner and Ndiaye with the goals. Ndiaye being the last goal scorer at Goodison Park and the first goal scorer at the Hill Dickinson Stadium. He will go down in Everton folklore for that. Pickford, massive 12-pointer. He saved the penalty from Danny Welbeck. Of course, Everton conceding penalties in back-to-back games, both for handball, ironically. Great save from the Welbeck penalty. And I think that's what you get from Pickford. Pickford is heavily reliable. He read it well. He read that water bottle. The percentage was 50-50 either side. He gambled and it paid off. Garner playing at left back still, so unfortunately for any of you who do own him, he is a midfielder on the game, I believe. So despite him scoring in this one, he's only picked up the 8 points. Tarkowski, 7-pointer. O'Brien, 8-pointer. I've got him. Thankfully, he's one of my biggest point scorers this week, so that clean sheet was massive. Michael Keane, 8 points once again. It's looking like a fairly solid option if you gambled for him before the start of game week 1. And one of the bigger disappointments for me this week, Keenan Dewsbury Hall. Just a 3-pointer, but he was on double that. He got, I think it was the 85th minute, he was on 6 points. He was on 9 ppm, so he was getting the 3 bonus points. He brought someone down, he got booked for it. Obviously, that dropped him down to the 8 ppm mark, so he was on 5 points when the game ended. And the day after, they've taken one away from him somewhere, and it's knocked him down to 3 points. Last week, I think he got 4 points. This week, 3 points. It could have been so much better with those 6 points. Just one tackle causing a 3-point deduction. Feels quite harsh, but that's the way that the game is, unfortunately. I am hoping he does play in the week. I think they've got Mansfield in the Cup. Will he play in that one? I'm not too sure. It depends on the injuries to Asnu and Mikalenko at left back, because you got Garner who can slot into midfield, and they did indeed have options coming off the bench. But I'm hoping he plays. Picking up a few more points would be greatly appreciated. Iliman Ndiaye, an 11-pointer, took his goal quite well, read the cross from Jack Grealish, slotted it home. Only 64 minutes, though, is one to note for the future. Tim Irabunen, a hero from the start of last season, only 2 points. Just a gone again with 4. Jack Grealish, 2 assists in this one, and I think he will creep onto a few people's radars with regard to transfer targets in the next few weeks. I don't think he'll play that Mansfield game. I could be wrong on that front. Maybe they want to get a few minutes in his legs. Of course, pre-season didn't really start until he joined Everton. He wasn't in any of the Man City squads, I don't believe. 2 assists. He looked quite lively. 1 bonus point in this fixture. It looked like he was back to not quite his best, but there were certainly flashes and glimpses of it in this game. Barry started up front ahead of Beto. I won't go there. He looked not great, to be honest. It genuinely looks like they've got 2 strikers of similar quality that they're just going to have to wing it for a bit until they get someone slightly better. Dwight McNeil coming off the bench didn't really offer much, same as Alcaraz. Not too much on the Everton front. For Brighton, Max Vifa, 4 points. Verbruggen just with the one. Dunk, 2-pointer. He was a £2.5 million asset at the start of the campaign. Max the Kuiper, 67 minutes up. I know quite a few of you did start game week 1 with him. 0 points. Not looking too great. Of course, both of these teams do have Carabao Cup fixtures in the week. Van Heck, 1-pointer. Minte with a 3 points. Belabor off at half time, surprisingly, just with 1-pointer. Matoma with the 3 points, 1 bonus point overall. Ayari, 5 points overall. Could have been a decent budget option at the start of the campaign. O'Reilly didn't take the penalty, surprisingly. He scored in game week 1 against Fulham. Danny Welbeck did take it. He missed it. I won't be going there. I think Jorginho Rutter was out of the squad with a rib injury. I think if he would have been fit, he starts ahead of Welbeck in this game. And nothing really coming off the bench either. Everton wise and Brighton wise, I'll be looking at them in the week to see if they score any points, specifically O'Brien and Dewsbury Hall. Super Sunday game this week was Fulham against Manchester United. Finished 1-1. Muniz with the own goal. It deflected, well, it bounced off him basically from a Lenny Yoro header. And Smith Rowe equalising. Iwobi with the assist. The Arsenal Academy graduates coming in with the goal for Fulham on this one. Leno with a 3-pointer. Tete 4 points. Anderson and Bassi just 2 points respectively. Sessegnon started, I think, at right wing. At least that's what they thought. Sessegnon started at left back, Tete at right wing, and Castagne started at right back. So there was technically 3 fullbacks on the pitch for Fulham in this one. Sessegnon got brought off for Anthony Robinson, who was coming back from a injury. King, a up-and-coming player through their youth system, looked okay, but only 3 points, won't really be going there. Iwobi picked up the assist. It was great cross into the danger area. Smith Rowe got on the end of it, nicked it past Bayinde. Good goal. Lukic got maximum bonus points, 7 points overall, 5 bonus points. Will he be picking that up every game? No, not one to note, unfortunately. Smith Rowe, as I said, did come off the bench to score in this fixture. Can you keep relying on that? Will he share minutes with King going forward? Potentially, but no players to note on the Fulham side. For Manchester United, more of you will own those assets and they're still not looking too great in attack. Bayinde with a 4-pointer, Luke Shaw just with the 2 points, De Ligt 3-pointer, Lenny Yoro 6 points. He did get the assist and not the goal for his header. His shot was going off target, but as an actual performance, it looked quite solid. Dorgu only a 2-pointer. I know quite a few did have him in your drafts. I'm not sure if Dorgu plays against Grimsby in the week. I think he is very much the starting left wing back for Man United. And there's a lot of options across the board. Bruno Fernandes. Now, where do I start? I've got him in both fantasy formats. Normally Mr. Dependable when it comes to penalties. But he got body checked by the referee, and apparently that made his penalty hit the moon. It was a shocker. It was absolutely disgraceful. It nearly didn't even land in Fulham's ground. If it didn't land at all, it was dreadful. 4 points, 9 ppm. He picked up 3 bonus points, so it wasn't the end of the world, but this could have been so much more. I think you get a -3 in some dream team for missing the penalty. Of course, he would have had 1 more point for the shot on target and 6 points for the goal. I think it is. It's either 5 or 6 points. My memory's really fading today, so I do apologise on that front. I think it's 6 points. So you're looking at, what is that? 13, between a 13-pointer and a 17-pointer if he scores that penalty. Big disappointment on that front. And I know a few of you would have captained him as well with a potential double. Does he play against Grimsby? Like many of these players? I'm not sure. He has the potential. Of course, Amarin does this from time to time. If Bruno plays that game and you've captained him, you're in the money, in my opinion. It's exactly what you're hoping for when you put the armband on him. Can I see it? I actually can. I really can, especially because they haven't won this fixture. They want the goals to start flowing. They don't want a repeat of last year where they only scored about 44 goals in the entire Premier League campaign. And with no Europe this season, domestic competitions mean that much more for them. Amad Diallo, he was my substituted player this week for Cole Palmer on the booster front of things. I waited for the lineups. He played right wing back, which is what I fully expected him to do. He got brought off in the 52nd minute for Diego Dallo, and they didn't improve as a team. If anything, they went backwards. Dallo offers a lot going forward. Of course, defensively, he's not as good as Dallo, but with a back five, I don't think you need two fullbacks who are predominantly defensive. I think he picked up tackles, he picked up a shot on target, he picked up just a point for playing basically. And in my opinion, everything was a bonus in this game. Sure, I'd have liked him to have played 60 minutes and picked up just the two for playing at least. But I think he plays in a week away to Grimsby. He's only played 52 minutes in this game. I think he played 30 odd against Arsenal in the opening game. So he's not been pushed out minutes wise yet. And I do think he plays potentially in that number 10 position, but he certainly plays at wing back in my eyes. Casemiro with a 1 pointer, Mason Mount with just the 3 points, which is quite harsh because his performance warranted a lot more than that. Cunha, 3 points could have been a lot more. Those of you who did substitute him in for Cole Palmer this week or started with him, he hit the post in the first 5 minutes. He had just a sitter of a chance. I think it was a big chance created from Bayindir, ironically. A long ball straight down the middle. Fantastic touch, and Leno pulled off a fantastic save himself to keep the ball out the back of the net. I actually think he is a better asset on this game currently than a certain Brian Mbeumo. Only 2 points from Mbeumo once again. Didn't look the greatest, looked a bit lethargic at times, whereas Cunha could have scored twice in this one. And I think it's mainly to do with system. Of course, at Wolves, Cunha played in the Wolves system in the 3-4-2-1 or a 5-2-3, however you want to decide the system plays out. And he played in that number 10 role. Of course, he had Ait-Nouri at wing back behind him doing incredible work. But he slotted into this Amarin side a lot more easily than Mbeumo has. So if you're going to pick between them two currently, I would go for Cunha. Off the bench, nothing really to know. Dallo with a 1 pointer, didn't look great. Harry Maguire coming on as a makeshift centre forward at times, should have scored, but he didn't. Sesko still looking rusty, lack of pre-season and lack of really getting used to this Man United team is really hurting him. And Heaven coming off the bench, I do think he'll play in the week against Grimsby, but Man United is still very hit and miss. And with this video being recorded fresh off the back of Newcastle against Liverpool, what a game. What a game. Liverpool stealing the points in the 110th minute of all things. A reverse on the fixture last season where Fabian Schär stole a late draw in the 3-3 draw. A bit of payback. Did Liverpool deserve to win this game? Absolutely not. For the majority, I'd say 85% of this game, Newcastle, if not more than that actually, Newcastle were by far the better team, even with 10 men. Up until the Gravenberch goal, Newcastle were well on top. They created chances. Liverpool lacked of ideas, struggling to go forward. The Newcastle press had them pinned back massively. The Gravenberch goal came out of nowhere. He took it well. It was a Gakpo assist. Slid the ball past Nick Pope from about 20 odd yards in off the post, and that really knocked Newcastle back. Of course, Anthony Gordon then got sent off for a wild tackle of sorts. He's trying to get in, he's trying to shut Van Dijk down as he's on the ball. Just goes in a bit too hot on the tackle, catches him around the calf. To me, it was a red card. It was one of them ones where in normal time it just looks like he's got there a little bit late, but there was a little bit of naughtiness about it. And unfortunately, that does mean he is banned for 3 games. He was one I was looking out for, especially with Leeds away next week, the Champions League fixtures coming around. But with that suspension and a 0.3 decrease in price, I'd stay well clear. Nick Pope picked up the assist for the Oselu goal in the 88th minute. A long ball over the top, ironically, took it well, slotted it past Alisson. Livramento, 3 bonus points. He got the assist for the Guimaraes goal. Looks lively. He was playing at left back in this game, shifted over to right back once Lewis Hall came on for Trippier. He always looks like he's going to do something in this Newcastle team. He picked up a 0.2 increase in price from game week 1 to game week 2. And I'd assume it's either a 0.1 or a 0.2 going from game week 2 to game week 3. So he's slowly creeping up in price. And with Newcastle being in the Champions League, I think from Thursday onwards, when we know the fixtures, he's definitely one to keep on our radars and on our shortlists. Trippier with a 1-pointer, Dan Burn with a -1, Shaw with a 2-pointer who went off with a head injury. Joelinton, just 3 points, went off with his own injury as well. Bruno Guimaraes picking up the goal, 9 points, but low on the PPM. Previously, we've put him in our teams and he's been high on bonus points. This season so far, he's not been too good on that front, so that is one to note. Tonali, 2 pointer, sitting at the base of that midfield three, not looking too lively. Alanga, just a 2 pointer as well, so could be potentially back-to-back price decreases for him. Certainly this week it will be. Harvey Barnes, 3 points, but with Alanga and Harvey Barnes, their minutes going forward will be a lot more stable, especially with that Gordon injury. I'd fully expect Newcastle to bring in a centre forward in the next week as the transfer window draws to a close, especially if Isak is sold. I think if Isak isn't sold to Liverpool, they will bring in the centre forward, but it will be a backup centre forward, as mentioned with Strand Larson earlier in the video. Osalu coming off the bench for an 8 pointer is still raw. Otherwise, I think that backup centre forward would be his position to lose. Lewis Marley, Jacob Ramsey coming on for his Newcastle debut. Newcastle will be disappointed in this one to concede in the manner that they did and as late as they did. But once again, Liverpool picking up a late win. Last week, I think there was 2-0 up at home to Bournemouth and let that lead slip, eventually winning that one 4-2. And they did the same here against 10 men this time. 2-0 up, Gravenberch scoring after 35 minutes. Ekitike scoring within 20 seconds of the restart in the second half. And after that, with Newcastle being down to 10 men, we all thought it was game over, done and dusted. Ekitike took his goal exceptionally well again, in off the post from outside the box. Once again, a Gakpo assist in a very similar manner, just slightly laying the ball off from that left-hand side into the centre of the pitch and it being drilled into the bottom corner. But Newcastle fought back, and as I said, they'll be very disappointed to lose the game in the last kick of the match pretty much. Curtis Jones, 5 points, picking up a bonus point. Defensive-wise, Van Dijk, only 1 point. Alisson, 2 points. Kirkez, 2-pointer. Of course, there was no Frimpong in this one. He's currently out with an injury. Konate, 0 points. Szoboszlai played as a right-back in this game with Conor Bradley coming off the bench and Frimpong still being injured. Did exceptionally well, to be fair to him. He really didn't look out of his depth and kept Harvey Barnes at bay for the majority of this one. Florian Wirtz, another one to note. He was a premium asset going into this season. Blanked across the first 2 game weeks, just a 3-pointer. Mo Salah, 7 points, 2 big chances created, and an assist in this one. Last minute, very last kick of the game, the 101st minute. You just can't write it sometimes with him. Of course, for those of you who went for Ekitike or Gakpo ahead of Salah, you're still doing exceptionally well, and I do think that has been the play so far. If you did start the campaign in such a manner and divvied out that extra money across the squad, potentially boosting the defenders, especially with the cheap defenders currently not being as good reliability-wise and points-wise as they are. But Salah picking up the very last kick of the game assist really did help things out. Gakpo to assist a 9-pointer, looking like that left-hand side is nailed down. So with the double game weeks coming up, it's one to note. I think he's going to bump in price again, 0.2, maybe 0.3. Potentially might be creeping him up just at that mid to upper price range. But if he can stay within a certain budget, I definitely think he's on my shortlist. Gravenberch with a goal, 8-pointer, his first start of the season. Of course, he missed the first one, I think, due to the birth of his child. And the first game of the season, he was banned from the red card he got at home to Palace in the last campaign. Ekitike taking his goal again really well. So that's 2 goals and an assist in the first 2 game weeks for him. Started the season, I think, at 5 million. He's going to creep up to about 5.5 million already. If they don't sign Isak, he might be, I don't like using the word essential, but he's certainly going to be a top target for us going forward into those Champions League fixtures. And I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I'm going to go for Ungumaha. That's probably not great, but leave a comment down below on how it is pronounced. The young lad coming off the bench, I think they've recently signed him from Chelsea. 6-minute cameo of sorts, scored the winner. He's not going to get minutes going forward, but what a moment for him. At that age, scoring a winner in such a manner, keeping Liverpool's 100% record ticking over already, and with Arsenal at home next week, dropping points in this one would have been really disappointing, especially playing against 10 men and everything that this fixture had around it, with Isak being the way that it is, the transfer saga. Liverpool will feel really good about these 3 points. And when the season finishes in May, these are the kind of results that you look back on and go, maybe it was won there. A little update on my own team going into the second part of game week 2. It's not been great, I can't lie. The start of the season has had a lot of bumpy rides so far. Russ with just a 1 pointer in goal. Juve with just a 1 point. I think that bloke is just stuck on 1 point. 1 point? 1 point. The choice between him and Coyote at Brentford has currently cost me 8 points. And if he doesn't play away to Wolves and Coyote does play that fixture, it's going to cost me even more. O'Brien, 8 points, one of the stars of the week for me this week. Of course, his clean sheet was very lucky with Pickford saving the penalty. Dan Ballard, I've made one transfer so far this season and it's lasted 9 minutes. He did go up 0.3 in price, so I suppose I did get that out of him. But to use two transfers to bring in a Sunderland defender and take out a Sunderland defender is extremely unlucky. I was toying with the idea of bringing Ballard in and switching Juve to Chalobah because I think that other defensive slot would have left me with 3.5 million. I didn't do it and it's already cost me points. So at least I do have three transfers going into game week 3 as it stands. Bruno Fernandes missing the penalty, icing on the cake for me. 4 points. Grimsby fixture potentially. Will he play? Yet to be seen. Dewsbury dropping from 6 points to 3 points in the last 2 minutes of the game. It's small violin moments, and there's so many small violins within this team. I just have to laugh at the minute. Ahmad coming on for his 3 pointer for Cole Palmer, who was a no-show. I kept Cole Palmer thinking West Ham wouldn't be the greatest defensively, yet I kept Juve. So it was muddled thinking, but it was mainly down to Juve nearly scoring last week away to Sunderland, where his shot was cleared off the line more than anything else. And I saw Coyote the week before, and he looked really bad. Goes to show how wrong I was on that front. But Ahmad 3 pointer. I think he will play away to Grimsby in the week. How many points he can pick up in that one depends on if it was a successful booster or not. If he doesn't play in that one and he stays on 3 points, it's been a disaster class on that one. Mohamed Kudus, 3 pointer, did really well in game week 1, not so well in game week 2, but he will be a player I will keep going forward. It looks like his minutes are fairly stable. Salah with the last minute assist, 7 pointer. With this week, that makes him currently my second highest scoring player, so I will absolutely take that. Haaland with a blank, pretty much just a big chance created. And my captain this week, I thought after his 4 points on Friday night, it was a massive mistake. Lo and behold, he's my third highest scoring player this week currently. So it's not great. It was 1 point from going, one bonus point that is, PPM from from 1 bonus point to 3 bonus points. 6 would have made it a very decent start. I do think he plays against Wolves. Can he do anything in that game? Can he pick me up, I don't know, 3, 4 points and just edge past anybody who's captain Salah alone this week? I do hope he can. He's the shining light in that West Ham team. But so far, in game week 2, part A, not fantastic. But there's still many more weeks to go in the season. And with 3 transfers going forward, I think there's plenty of scope to mould the team into a more European style of things. So that does conclude today's video. Just a quick look at how the Premier League fixtures have unfolded. The first part of game week 2 has been completed. We'll see the best performers of the week, the top scorers so far, and just a general look on how my team has been doing. Leave a comment down below on how your teams are doing so far. Have you started the season on fire? Has it been a bit of a slow burner so far, or are things just mellowing out with a mid-range start of sorts? Of course, I will have a game week 2 transfer target video out probably sometime during the week. With those European fixtures, I think on Thursday the Champions League ones are announced, and I think it's Friday for the Conference League. and Europa League. I think the second round of the Conference League playoff games are on Thursday, so that will be on Friday. So with those still to play, that will heavily rely and change up the way that we see the fixtures going forward. Of course, teams with easier fixtures in game weeks 4 and 5 will be heavily just gone towards in total. There will be key assets to own. So you will get a game weeks 2 transfer target video sometime this week. Leave a comment down below on other videos that you'd like to see from me. Sun Dream Team related covered, of course. And do check out my socials in the description below. We've got TikTok, we've got Instagram, we've got X, we've got all the good stuff. Go check it out. With only a week to go in the transfer window, there could potentially be a lot more brand new players coming onto the game and maybe a few cheap bargains that we do need to keep just a closer eye on than some of the others. But thank you very much for watching this Game Week 2 Part A recap, and you'll be seeing me in a new video very soon.